This podcast is sponsored by
Terraform Development is a rising engineering design and project management company located in Flagstaff, Arizona. Co-owners Eddie Kalnemtua and Stanford Lake started the company to bring economic-related projects to rural communities like the villages of the Hopi tribe. Some of the important work done by Terraform with the Hopi tribe are Ka-Hopi Master Plan, KUYI radio station site plan, Hopi Tribal Housing Authority residential homes, and numerous other nonprofit types projects on the Hopi tribe. Terraform can be reached at 928-864-5022 or visit their website at www.terra4orm.com. That's TERRA, the number 4, ORM.com. Also sponsored by 4X Studio is a Phoenix-based design and print communications company that specializes in brand messaging, marketing communications, and creative services for small businesses, nonprofits, tribal gaming, American Indian, and corporate clients nationwide. Their professional services include integrated brand systems, strategic design, identity illustration, print, ad campaign, assist management, packaging, and event design. Forex Studio is an American Indian owned and operated by Sean Kwani. For more information, visit forexstudio.com. That's the number 4, xstudio.com.
You are now listening to the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. I am your host, the 5-star, 5-diamond chef, J-Man. And with me is my co-host, the Prince of No Air, Carlton Banks. Shit. Bloopers, bleeps. Okay, one more time.
Wait a minute. What? All right. Let's try this again. We're in season 3. Let's try this again.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You are now listening to the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. I am your host, the 5-star, 5-diamond chef, J-Man. And with me, the Prince of No Air, Carlton Banks. He once had a haircut like the Prince of Egypt, Carl.
You know, I never seen myself with that before. I never seen myself having that type of haircut before, so...
I take the person's word on it that said that you did, but we're back.
Well, good morning. Yeah, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast here on Wednesday morning or whenever you're listening to this.
You're so obsessed with this morning thing, well, Carl. A tip for the listeners is that Carl wanted to make us a morning show.
Well, we released this on Wednesday morning anyway, so...
And people listen to us on Wednesday afternoon,
Wednesday mornings,
Wednesday evenings, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays,
but
Sundays.
we released this on Wednesday morning, so
and never are we a morning show.
I think it's positive to say that I can say good morning.
But we're back.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. We are back.
Yes, thank you for listening. I think that, we've said this a bunch of times and, we really are appreciative of it, is that the amount of listeners and downloads for our podcast, so the amount of traffic on our social medias has doubled from season 1 to season 2. And so our goals is to help to increase those numbers while we do these podcasts for season 3.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing us on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever platform we're on right now.
I know that a lot of natives aren't on Twitter, and our Twitter numbers are horrible at the moment. So if you have a Twitter account, please add us on Twitter. You can just find us at Carl and J-Man on Twitter.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. So I'm very excited for season 3. And it's because we have a lot of great topics that listeners and people that just kind of randomly throw it at us every now and then. And we take those topics in and we give them consideration. And so we are going to be talking about some, deep topics that that necessarily are going to make you think. So,
And then also too that we do have a lot of new listeners to the
yeah.
podcast because there's this really cool new feature that kind of popped up on our Anchor site that allows us to measure unique downloads. Basically, folks that are tuning into us for the first time. And so if you are listening to us for the very first time and you're kind of wondering, what is this shit show, the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast? How are they saving the world?
Well, we've been saving it since 1985.
So in other words, we kind of exactly don't know yet either. We're still trying to figure that out. But if we can brighten up your day, if we can make you laugh, if we can make you think critically on some of these topics that we discuss, because we do talk about issues relating to natives, reservation lifestyles, and living in these two worlds, trying to be behind that at the same time. Basically, that's what we're about. But also, too, we kind of try to put a little humor on top of it, too, because one of the things is that we definitely don't want you to walk away too heavy-hearted from this and, get some laughs in about what it is that we talk about. But basically, we're just two Hopi guys talking out of our asses. So.
Yeah, basically, that's what we are. So congratulations to all the new listeners that, that are here. And I wish you all the best. Stay safe. So
don't take Carl too seriously.
I like presents, so if you have a
Please
present,
don't cancel us.
I have not gotten us canceled yet, so I think I'm doing okay. So today's topic, what is today's topic?
Today's topic is something on the very contemporary side of things, something that relates not only just to natives, but is a real nationwide thing that's going on. And so there's this phenomenon that just happened, and it's something called voting.
Yes, voting was November 3rd, right?
There was this huge event called the United States presidential election.
Yes, and for those who did vote and for those who did not vote, I congratulate you both because you both actually did make a change.
Did you vote?
I did not vote.
You didn't vote?
I did not vote.
How dare you not vote?
I know, right? I don't believe in voting, that's why.
Oh my God.
I made a change, though.
Yeah, what was the change?
I changed my luma.
Well, you know what? Getting off of my high horse, and I'm willing to admit, when I'm a hypocrite, but I didn't vote either.
Yeah.
And there goes our listeners.
And there goes our listenerships.
Well, thank you for
listening
to us in those first 5 minutes of
thank
our
you.
episode.
All right. Thank you.
And so today we really want to talk about this concept of voting as it falls within the walls of our societies here on the Hopi Reservation.
Yeah.
Talk about the differences between perspectives of why some of us don't vote, why some of us do vote, and some of the other types of developments that come with voting and some of the ways that we kind of act when it comes to this time of the year or when it comes to this type of thing, when it comes to voting. Are we nice to each other? Are we bullying each other to vote? And, all these sort of things. And so some of you might be at home kind of listening and wondering to yourself, well, these two assholes didn't vote. How dare they talk on this topic of voting? And so we're going to exercise our First Amendment right,
the freedom of speech.
And so we're going to talk on this topic, even though we didn't participate.
And the reason why is because of that is we're Hopi and we're in Native American. Move, I'm something else, that whole hashtag thing there.
You are something else, man. Do Hopis on the reservation vote? Would you say that a majority of us do or don't?
I would not know. I mean, like the younger generation, yeah.
If you were to guess.
If I were to guess, I would say maybe 1/3 of Hopis voted. Maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we're not the only jackasses actually not voting.
Yeah. And the reason why is because elderlies don't vote.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionalists don't vote.
Why not?
Well, the reason why is because it's Ka-Hopi, or it's not Hopi tradition to vote.
What does Ka-Hopi mean?
So Ka-Hopi means not Hopi or not related to Hopi in a way.
And so for non-Hopi listeners that are listening, basically, when that term Ka-Hopi is used, usually it's used towards people and their behavior, correct?
Yeah.
So people that act unpeaceful.
Yeah.
People that don't, people that act in ways that are outside of what Hopi ethics and Hopi values are usually deemed Ka-Hopi.
Yeah.
And so people that participate in behaviors that we see as immoral or unethical, usually they're labeled Ka-Hopi.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we deemed as voting for the next president is deemed Ka-Hopi in our tradition.
And so I guess a reason why as to why we say that voting is Ka-Hopi is because I think traditionally Hopis always believed that our own leaders or essentially are the real power, or the people that hold real power in regards to what goes on here on our reservations and with our villages. And that's something that we talked to quite an extent in a past episode, our Hopi leadership episode.
Yeah, and so like, with the presidential elections, we don't even vote for our own council or our own chairman or vice chairman here. I mean, there are some people that do, but it's mainly their families and other people.
And so I guess to answer my own question, when I asked you, do Hopis vote? It's I guess that's a good way to see how true that is when you look at our tribal elections.
Yeah.
When you look at the population of Hopis versus the number of Hopis that actually voted.
Yeah.
That the ratio is really disproportionate.
And see, well, I'm going to answer my question, or answer your question of why I don't vote.
Okay.
And it's because I traditionally see it as a way of giving ourselves up to the United States.
But we're citizens.
Yeah, exactly. I know we're citizens, but we don't have treaties with the United States. Hopi doesn't have treaties with the United States here. We're our own sovereign people. We're basically our own sovereign land that we can do what we please here on the Hopi reservation. Even though we are deemed U.S. citizens, we still have that opportunity to say, I don't want to involve myself with United States politics.
I thought you were going to say that you don't vote because you're too lazy to get up and go to the polling places.
I don't even know. I don't even know where the polling places were here on the reservation. So,
and so, but I guess really, because Hopi, we're very rural out here, right?
Yeah.
And so there isn't a whole lot of outside influences on our reservation. And, that might be a reason as to why a lot of folks out here don't vote, is because they have this mentality that whatever happens outside of our tutskwa, our land, doesn't necessarily affect us.
No.
And so, you think about our current president, he's still the president, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that he's done to affect Hopi? And, did the wall that he construct to on the Autumn lands down south to keep the Castilas out of the country, did that affect Hopi?
No.
Did some of the other policies that he made, did they affect Hopi?
No.
And for a lot of us, that's kind of our mentality, is that no, a lot of what he did didn't affect us. And so even, prior to him, when you think about Barack Obama, what are some of the things that he's done that's directly impacted our people here on the reservation, that a lot of us might think that, no, there's not a lot of things that he did to really affect us. So why should I vote then?
Yeah.
If whoever is going to be in position next, Joe Biden, our current president-elect, is there any possible way that he can make policies or decisions that's going to directly affect us here on the reservation? And so I think that really, because the fact that we're so isolated that we don't see some of these things.
Yeah.
But if you're a Hopi or a native person that lives in a bigger populated area in the cities, for example, that might be a way to where you actually see some of these decisions that these presidents make that do affect people.
Yeah.
And do affect certain things. So I think that that's probably why a big reason why you see a lot of our urban native relatives pushing for people to vote, because then from their perspective, they see where these leaders and their policies and their decisions can affect people.
And see, the reason why, we see it as like, we live in a bubble. We live in that bubble kind of esque, and we don't necessarily follow the problems of United States or what problems they're having with immigration laws or anything of that matter, like water issues or land issues. We have our own issues to deal with the government itself, but that's just because we've been dealing it in time immemorial.
Since the U.S. government has been around?
Since the U.S. government has been around.
Or at least since they've had interactions with us.
Yeah, and see, even though we vote for a president that might do something for Hopis in a general, it never happens. It never happens because they forget you once they're in office.
Or they call you something else. And well, one of the things that I really wanted to kind of bring up is that there is a difference in mentality between us reservation natives and our urban relatives. And I know that, sometimes a lot of the times that when it comes to these big discussions about natives, indigenous peoples, American Indians, etc., that a lot of people really do like to talk about us as if we're one united front.
Yeah.
That we're all in this fight together, which I believe is true.
Oh, yeah.
But I also believe that it's very important to point out the differences between all of us, because then when we point out the differences, it helps us to understand each other. It helps us to get why reservation natives think the way that they do and have the certain type of mentality that they do. It helps us to understand our urban native relatives and their perspectives and why their behaviors are the way that they are. And that, really when you're on the reservation, that sometimes our mentalities aren't even, like you said, we're in this bubble, that our mentalities aren't with the rest of the nations. And really, I believe it's because living out here on the reservation still really is kind of like a fight for survival in a way.
Yeah.
Because you think about it right now, there's snow outside. What are most Hopi families doing on the weekends as a result of the winter time?
Well, they're probably going to Phoenix. That's probably one thing.
To get out of this
out of this cold. Well, while back then when Peabody was open, a lot of Hopis would go and get coal or get wood. And that's the reason why, Hopis don't necessarily see that it's a viable option to get into politics, because Joe Biden,
we're still trying to keep ourselves alive.
Joe Biden is not going to get me firewood, or Donald Trump is not going to buy me a coal card. None of them are going to do anything for what I need to survive here on the reservation.
And so, for the reservation natives, I really do think that, our minds are more occupied with things like that. Getting wood on the weekends is what a lot of people are doing right now. Or, just depending on the time of the year, we talked about this in previous episodes, how during the summertime, a lot of our time is taken up with the cornfields.
Yeah.
Or women have their own duties and obligations that they're using to be able to fill up their weekends. And so that's kind of where it goes back to what I said before in a previous episode, is that, one of the biggest differences between rural natives and city natives is that the urban natives actually have plans on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
That they can go to those farmers markets or, seek out those really nice clean shoes that we've teased them about before. But for us, we really are still trying to figure out ways how to get fuel for our stoves, or to do other types of things that are associated with reservation living.
And that is because we as reservation peoples deemed voting as Ka-Hopi, because it is not part of how Hopi tradition is. And that's where I come in, is that, that's where my mentality is that, yes, voting is Ka-Hopi. Voting is something that we are not supposed to do in the Hopi tradition. And so that's the reason why we never, most Hopis don't vote.
But it should be noted that, a lot of reservation natives are voting.
Oh, yeah.
And, there was that graphic that was shown as to where a lot of individuals within the state of Arizona voted. And there was a high number of people that voted that were located on tribal lands.
Yeah.
And so that dynamic is definitely shifting to where more reservation natives are voting. But I guess from the perspective of the traditional Hopi, that, we haven't traditionally voted because we've always deemed it as that. It's Ka-Hopi.
Yeah.
It's something that hasn't been a part of our practices before, because we believe that, whoever's sitting in the White House, the great white father, as that position has been called, doesn't really affect us out here, or at least in our minds, we think that they don't. And so I guess at least for the more conservative Hopis, the more traditional Hopis, I think that one of the kind of reasons as to why that there might be no faith in this political system or faith in this type of governing is we look at our own Hopi Tribal Council.
And, when we do look at our own tribal council, we laugh about the concept because they're old people and they don't know anything about politics, let alone getting a check at the end of the month.
The perspectives of Carl are not shared by all members of the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. Strong Ones. Strong Ones is dedicated to exposing cultural traditions of running that exist within many cultures and tribes worldwide through running apparel. Strong Ones is an individually owned business supporting cultural running traditions and supporting local organizations within the Hopi Reservation. They can be found at strongones.myshopify.com. Again, that's strongones.myshopify.com. They are also on Facebook at StrongOnes15.
But
on record, I guess. No.
But when you look at it, when you look at this whole idea of politics or political parties within the Hopi community here, we really don't have a political mindset.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Or you know what? We don't, but I think that it's because we don't understand a whole lot of politics.
Yeah, the
white man's politics.
Okay, so take example my so'o, she doesn't like Trump. Well, I'm pretty sure that everybody doesn't like Trump in a way, but for me,
you told me the other day that you thought Trump was a pretty cool guy.
I'm getting to that. But for me, I think Trump is an okay kind of guy. And there goes our listeners. Thank you for listening, everybody.
We appreciate your support.
And no, the reason why is because the reason why I say that is because Trump has never hurt my family. Trump has never hurt So'o, or Trump has never did anything offensive to make So'o sad or to make So'o deem that where she just doesn't want to see him in a way. Of course, there are like the TV political shows that come on, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to see him," but she never he never hurt her personally. So I don't think Trump is such a bad guy because he never hurt my family.
Well, would you agree that Trump's an idiot?
Oh, most definitely. I think all politicians are idiots. No matter who you are. Even our own tribal council and our own tribal, chairman and vice chairman, yeah, they have that mentality to say, it goes right over their head. So
well, there's some controversy there for you. And so I guess, because it was this political season that happened. And so, both you and I were on social media.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are on social media. And so that one of the things that you've seen a lot on social media from certain individuals is that this message of it's vital that you vote.
Yeah.
It's important that you vote because your vote is, it can help to, I guess, alter the future in a way.
Yeah.
Or that, certain people's livelihoods depend on you voting. And so why do you think that a lot of those messages are out there? Can you think of a good reason as to why people should vote? Or why people like us that don't vote should think to vote in the future?
Okay, so think about this. When the Big Bang Theory had happened, they put out a mass email of saying, okay, so let's vote to see who we can keep on as a character, or what do you like as characters on the TV show?
Oh, really? I never got this email.
Well, I did. I'm a very big fan of Kaylee Kuko. So Kaylee Kuko, if you're listening to this, call me up. Yeah. But anyway, when they did that, it was a vote to see how well the characters are playing and to see which characters will go off in season 3 or 2.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And so I believe that the political party is basically a huge TV show.
Survivor, man.
Survivor, and I believe that, Donald Trump, our president, and Joe Biden, our elect president, are basically characters in a TV show that if we want to keep them or not. So we always have our good characters that we like to follow and bad characters that we just hate on TV show, and that's how my mentality thinks.
So basically what you're saying is that voting is an act to see which one of these characters is removed from the TV show.
Yeah.
This is America.
This is America. That would actually be a really good TV show of This is America. So, wait, wasn't there a TV show something like that?
I think so. I think that's where I got this from. But I'm pretty sure a lot of folks who are listening are probably heated and thinking of they're making a mockery of this voting system.
Yeah.
But in preparation to get ready for this, and then because it was the season to vote, and that's basically what was consuming the media was this political campaign event, to where people were trying to decide who the next president of the United States was. It really did make me think, and wonder, why are some people so working so hard to ensure that people vote? Why is it so important to them? And so one of the things that I really do like to do is I try to see perspectives from other folks, and I started thinking about different ethnicities, right? Because then as Hopis, we think that we're not touched by this political by the politics that happen in Washington, but then you think about Donald Trump and you think about what his policies towards immigration are. And so, I do have friends that are Mexican, that come from the Latin communities that live down in the valley.
Yeah.
And I know that they were some people that were really heavily on social media talking about the importance to vote, and the fact that, a lot of the conversation does have to do with historical contexts of how a lot of minority people didn't have the right to vote once upon a time in the United States history. And the fact that we have this ability now is a reason as to why we should exercise that ability to do so. And so, you think about like the Mexican community, you think about the Latin community, and you think about Trump and his policies towards immigration, that a lot of those people probably really believe that it was a life or death decision whether Trump went into a second term of office or they brought somebody else in because of how he handled those immigrations.
Yeah.
And Hopi, we're just one of 22 federally recognized tribes in the state of Arizona. You think about the Ta'ana'atams, the TO tribe, and how Trump has affected them, that basically this wall that he had been talking about was going to cross through their tribal lands.
Yeah.
And so they were very much against Trump. And so coming from that type of tribe, you see where their desperation was to get him out of office.
And, when we talk about like different natives being affected by what Trump has been affecting them with, Hopi has not necessarily been in that mixture of things. And so Hopi has no real reason why we should get rid of him other than the fact that we're just following somebody else's perspective views.
Following somebody else's motion.
Yeah. And so, of course, I'm pretty sure that there are something that Trump is going to do to us Hopis, but we never even heard about anything in that matter. So it doesn't affect us. And I'm not necessarily saying that both parties are good people or bad people in a way. I'm saying that the political part is doing what it's supposed to be doing, what it's supposed to be when they made it up. It's not supposed to include anybody of color. It was just made for the white people only. And that's all that it's for. And so when you bring in somebody that's not of color, then the cheese is moved. Everything is moved here.
Who moved my cheese?
Yeah, who moved my cheese? And it throws off everything. And so the whole way, especially when you look at the political justice or the political parties, it wasn't made for us. It wasn't made for Native Americans. It wasn't made for blacks. It wasn't made for Mexicans. We're just throwing a wrench in there, hoping that it would stop, hoping that it would change, but it's not going to change because it was already made like that.
And definitely that is a shared perspective by a lot of reservation natives. And I think that, for myself, I do have that American Indian Studies background. I do have a bachelor's and master's degree. So I think that, I've been fortunate enough to obtain certain informations to learn how something can happen thousands of miles away and affect Hopis in a very secluded area. Because as much as we believe that, what goes on in other places, that it doesn't affect us here, but unfortunately that isn't true, that, sometimes things can happen away from our lands and still affect us here.
Yeah.
And so you think about like Indian policies, for example, Indian laws that were made to govern Indians basically, and how a lot of these Indian laws are developed is that sometimes there's a court case that involves a tribe thousands of miles away from our lands, but the decision of that court case is going to affect us some way, somehow. And the Major Crimes Act is an example of something like that, that there was this case into where a native individual, and I can't even remember from which tribe, but basically they were tried for murder. This individual was tried for murder, and the tribe was going to handle this individual in their own traditional way, but because all it involved was for this individual to compensate the family of who he killed, that the white people weren't okay with that they wanted him to answer for his crimes, how they saw fit for somebody who was murdered. And so basically that's what started this Major Crimes Act, is that, okay, you Indians aren't trusted enough or capable enough to try your own people by how we see fit. So we're going to create this law that's going to affect all Indians, and that the federal government is going to be able to have jurisdiction over certain crimes that happen on the reservation. And so that's an example of something that has happened thousands of miles away from our tribal lands that do affect us here on Hopi. I guess just to play devil's advocate with that perspective that you had. And so unfortunately, things do happen away from our lands that do affect us, and that they're happening all the time. But it's because we're not in those places to where they're being discussed for us to learn about those things. And so definitely I believe that probably a lot of these reservation natives that did go out and vote, that is something that they probably do strongly believe in, is that things can happen away from here that can affect us.
Yeah, and I congratulate all of you Native Americans who made that choice to do that, and to make that choice to bring in another TV character. And I, and I believe that this whole scene this whole political scene is one big one TV show, one big TV show. And and I'm pretty sure you're going to hate me for doing that, but that's how I see it.
I already hate you, Carlos.
and that's how I see it. That's how a Hopi guy from the reservation sees it. So, and
Speaking of not understanding certain things, so I mean, I believe that, a lot of what's going on in the political scale or the political scene is new to reservation natives, or new to us Hopis for sure.
Yeah.
And so, I think that one of the things that I've witnessed is that a lot of the times that when we begin to vote for the first time, that sometimes in reality, we truly don't know what it means to be a Democrat, or the characteristics that come with it, or we truly don't understand what it means to be a Republican, and some of the characteristics that go with that, or even some of these other lesser known political parties and their characteristics and the histories behind those political parties, because it's not our history.
No.
It's not something that we were included in when these political parties developed. And so there are some things that when it comes to politics that we do need to understand. And, it was actually a conversation that I had with my brother that kind of brought this idea to my head, is that, automatically, for whatever reason, that we kind of paint Democrats as the heroes, right?
Really? Yeah.
That they're
we do.
That they're the ones that stand up for the good things of America, and that they fight for the little guys.
Yeah.
and that the Republicans are the villains.
Yeah.
Always, for some reason, and that they're kind of like the Thanoses trying to rule the universe in this Marvel Cinematic Universe that we're living in. But why is it like that? Why do we have this perspective that, especially when we don't understand or even know the true histories behind these political parties, that we just automatically assume that the Democrats are the heroes in this fight for freedom and justice, and that the Republicans are the villains?
Well, it's because that we just see whatever we see on TV or whatever is talked about
On Facebook.
And on Instagram, and our sewing circles, and it's just how we see what we always have to have a good and bad. Hopi is like that. We always have to have a hero. We always have to have a villain. So we deem the Democratic Party as the heroes because Obama was a Democrat.
Because we like blue?
Because we like blue, and Obama was the Democrat. He was the one that said that, oh yeah, Native Americans, oh, he's a different color, I should vote for him. I believe in his words because he's not white, or he's not of power or anything.
Well, I was a quote unquote crypt in junior high school, so that's probably another reason why I sided with the Democratic Party.
And we believe that Republicans are bad because of Star Wars, the Republican Party. 1970s is
Darth Vader had the blue lightsaber.
Exactly. And it's because of we think it's bad because all the years that have been going on, like George W. Bush, they all been Republicans, and we believe that they're the ones who started everything that's happening in the world today.
Hopis don't like bushes, huh?
Bum.
But I guess what really got my head into this thought process of us not really truly understanding the differences between Republicans, Democrats, or other political parties is that my brother asked me this question one time. He asked me, are you pro-life or are you pro-choice? Meaning that, are you in favor of abortions or not?
Yeah.
And because traditionally Hopi, that we do see abortion as Ka-Hopi.
Yeah.
That's something that is a big negative in our communities. I answered him. I said that, I'm against abortions. I guess I'm pro-life.
Yeah.
And then he immediately responded to me. He said, well, then you're a Republican. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And then that's kind of when he started talking about, Republicans, they're pro-life. They believe in, this type of perspective. And so it got me to really think about, the differences between those two political parties, because a lot of us, we do want to say that we're Democrats and not truly understanding what some of these mentalities or belief systems of each political party are, because then, I had to do my research because I didn't know a whole lot about either of the political parties either. And I learned that based on our own traditions, our own traditional morals and ethics as Hopis, that we actually do have quite in common with the Republican belief set.
Yes.
Because like that, we're pro-life.
Yeah.
Hopis are very conservative.
Yeah.
Which is something that's really aligned with the Republican Party. And you think about some of the ideals and perspectives of Democrats, and yet, we're all so quick to run to that side to wanting to be Democrats. That's some of their belief systems, that they're more libertarian, I believe is the term.
They're more liberal.
Not librarians, libertarian. And that, some of their ideals and perspectives are actually Ka-Hopi.
Yeah.
And that, they're kind of anti to what we traditionally
believe,
how we should be living. So, going from those going from that type of conversation, really, us Hopis should be Republicans.
And see, the reason why you say Republicans is because Hopis deem that no other Hopi, like if your mother is not Hopi and your father is Hopi, you should not be initiated. The same concept goes for Native or for like Trump's mindset. If you're not born in the United States, you should not be a citizen of the United States. I'm going to close you off. And the same goes with Hopi in that mentality set there.
That is a great point because, well, I mean, it's not a great point. It's a truthful point.
It's a truthful
I
point.
don't mean to say that those things are good, but you know, it really is because then you know you think about Trump, right? Trump is probably the extreme of one ideal. He's an extreme of a certain perspective. And so you think about all of his followers, you know, a lot of people
Stereotypical of like United States, right?
yeah, like they see his followers as a certain way, that they're racist,
Yeah.
that they're bigots,
Yeah.
that they're white people,
Oh, yeah.
that come from these certain communities. And one of the thoughts that I had though is that, you know, when you think about a lot of the Trump supporters, that a lot of them are coming from these white rural communities in America.
Yeah.
And that's a large portion of where his supporters are coming from. But then you think about that rural community. What are some characteristics of rural communities that are pretty similar with native
villages? Yeah.
communities?
Like native
And
villages.
You think of native rural communities and you think of white rural communities. What are some of the things that each side both have in common? One is that religion plays a big factor in how we guide ourselves, how we live our life, which is very true here for Hopi.
Yes.
That the Hopi religion is still something that's very strong. It's something that a lot of us still live our day-to-day lives by.
Yeah.
The other, I guess, a negative aspect of it is that racism.
Yeah.
It's because that, you know, that any rural community is in this bubble. And whoever is living within this bubble, they see as their own people. Anybody else that's outside of this bubble is not part of their community. It's not with them. And so we're very exclusive.
Yeah.
And like you said, the point that you made is that there is racism. Well, I guess I don't know if I really call it racism, but, you know, some people might see it as racism. They definitely see it as
like selectivism.
Exclusive ideals that if your mother's not Hopi, you're not Hopi.
Yeah.
That's an example of, you know, some of our mindsets out here on Hopi that's shared amongst some of the families here. And that's kind of a negative about who, at least how some people can perceive it to be a negative.
Exactly. And there are some ceremonies that non-natives cannot see within the Hopi community here. And we are only exclusive to our own people.
And there are ceremonies that are even exclusive Hopis.
Yeah.
If you're not initiated into a specific society.
Yeah, and that mindset plays exactly like how Republicans' mindset plays. Mm-hmm. Is that if you're not part of that party there, or you're not part of the thought process, then you are not part of their own religion or their own traditions. Mm-hmm. So it goes to show you that Hopis actually are Republicans. I mean, I'm not saying that you should believe in the Republican Party. I'm just saying that the mindset of everything that has going on with white culture or mainstream culture versus Hopi culture are similar in morals and values. So, I mean, if you really think about it, we're basically just all the same. We just have different ways of seeing it.
Just different colors.
Yeah.
Except Carl's legs are white. Similarities he has to Bahanas.
Yep. You're mixed race there. Your elbows are all black, and then your neck's black, and then your elbows black, but your
pono is white.
Your pono is white.
And you know, it really is. I guess I now I understand more about why, you know, certain people have these rules within their house. You know, like we don't talk politics to people that aren't a part of this house.
Yeah,
because you understand like how much controversy it can create.
Oh yeah,
you understand the arguments that it could start because, you know, like that we talked about early in this episode how we think that as Hopis that we're not political.
Yeah,
that we don't have these politics within our mindsets, or, you know, some of the things that we talk about with our neighbors or with other relatives. But when you think about that word politics, or why it's such a controversial thing, it really does have to do with how your own personal perspective of how life should be lived. And really, that's kind of the genesis as to how a lot of these conversations, or why there's all these separations between political parties, or, you know, based off of your own mentality, why that exists. And Hopi's the same way, because then we have our own ideas of how we should be living our lives.
Yeah.
the more traditional villages say that we should continue to live our life by the traditional Hopi way
Yeah.
as best that we can. Some of the more progressive villages recognize that we are already trending towards this direction of assimilation and colonization. And so they think that we should embrace the good things about the white man's way of life, to integrate that into our communities and to be able to develop our societies in that way. And so, that idea of politics, just because we don't understand it, but a lot of those same practices and thought processes do exist here on the reservation, because we do have these differentiating perspectives on how we should move forward as a Hopi community.
Oh yeah. And so, like, when was the last time you voted? I want to see.
I think it was at Ka-Hopi Day School for the student council. I voted for myself.
Mine was when did was that Bill Clinton?
No, I actually voted once in my entire life.
Really?
I voted during our last tribal elections.
Really?
I voted for a tribal chairman.
Really?
The guy I voted for lost, so.
Man, I don't vote for anybody.
So I said, nah, I'm not going to do this.
I don't vote for anybody because they're not going to bring.
no one votes for you.
They're not going to bring coal for me anyway, so,
But it's so interesting, though. And, and I guess kind of in a way, we really are kind of outsiders kind of looking in on this topic of voting and politics, because we don't participate in it ourselves. And, exercising our First Amendment rights, wanting to be American when it suits us.
Yeah. And so for any listener out there that's listening right now that hasn't turned us off within the last 20 minutes, thank you for sticking with us. And I want to congratulate everybody who has made it through to this 44-minute mark here, to thank you for listening to us rant and to talk about, all of these different opinions. And I just want to say that our opinions are our own. Our opinions are our own, and we can't change the opinion. You can't change an opinion. And thank you for doing that. If you do have your own opinions, that's up to you on how you want to see yourself living in this world today. And I want to congratulate you on how you feel that way. And I want you to take care of yourself no matter how you live, no matter what you do in life, no matter how you live. Just make sure that you follow the basic principle of not hurting life, not hurting anything that's living. Make sure you wake up every morning and pray, take a drink of water, do all the things what Hopi has said to you in the past. But all in all, I just want to say that it's your own life that you want to live, and it's your own perspective on how you see different things.
It's my life. And if Carl's really pissed you off, you can tell him so. His phone number is 928-283-6363.
Please don't call that number. I'm erasing it right now. So,
well, speaking of being, I guess, kind of outsiders in this whole political practice, one of the things that I've really seen, and kind of actually, I really think of it as a negative, is the way how crazy we get when it comes to political season.
Yeah.
Because then, I think that a lot of people get really carried away when it comes to ensuring that everybody votes, that it kind of, in a way, it creates this, this culture of almost in a way of cyberbullying people to vote. Yeah. And this is something that we've talked about before, because, in my mind, I really do have this belief that unfortunately, as a society, regardless of whether you're Native, whether you're Hopi or, a non-Native, is that, a lot of us sometimes, we really do like to pretend. We like to pretend that we hold certain morals, that we hold certain values. And, because I have made it known to people that I don't vote, that this is something that I don't do. And I'm always met with negativity. I'm always being told that I'm that I'm in the wrong for
Yeah.
not for choosing not to vote. And I hear a lot of the reasons as to why folks vote, and I think that some people really do have justifiable reasons for voting or strong compassions to voting. But for me, I've always believed that with Hopi, and this is why I always think Hopi is so unique, is that it actually our ancestors or our forefathers fought for the right to not participate
in
this Bahana
any political
system.
thing. Yeah.
Because our and you're one to speak on this, is that there were Hopis from your village that were imprisoned.
Oh, yeah.
The most infamous one was the imprisonment at Alcatraz prison of Hopi individuals, and basically that was their crime, was that they didn't want to participate
In any of the
in any of the white man society. And so that's kind of at least a thought in my head that I've always had, is that well, we fought to not be a part of this, to not have this within our societies. But the other reason too why I choose not to vote is that I absolutely have no faith in, and you said this already, in the system.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't believe that it serves Native people. And I don't believe that the system is broken. I believe that the system works for its design, and that its design is to keep a certain people in power.
Exactly.
And to keep certain people in, to keep them oppressed.
Yeah.
And so that's a big reason as to why I don't vote. Because I don't believe that it'll be good for Indians in the long run.
Oh no.
Irregardless of who's in power. And I think that another thing too, especially for Hopis, and this is kind of, I guess, kind of a maybe kind of a old time thought, is that because we are religious, but with Hopi, with our religion comes spirituality.
Yeah.
And that I think that an old Hopi philosophy is that things are going to turn out the way that they're going to turn out, irregardless of what happens with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's this belief system that tomorrow's going to come, whether Trump's president or whether Biden's president, that certain things are going to happen irregardless of who's in charge. Because I think that a real old Hopi philosophy is that we really don't have control. People, individuals don't really have control. And then, from the Bahana perspective, the president has vast amounts of power.
Yeah.
Certain world leaders have vast amounts of power. But in the Hopi way, we don't believe that individuals have this type of power.
That. Yeah.
Rather, we believe in certain elements of nature have vast amounts of power. Think about the rain. You think about other things and relate it to that. And so that's something that I understand that a lot of people don't understand, or they don't get it because they're not religious. A lot of people don't have religion anymore, or a lot of people don't subscribe to their religion institutions in the way that Hopis might, into our own perspectives and religious beliefs. And so when all of this pressure comes from individuals on others to vote, the way that I think of it is that, like I said, some of us like to pretend. We like to pretend that we have certain morals and ethics. And so sometimes we like to pretend that we're inclusive, that we accept everybody and their belief systems and how they think. And so basically what a lot of us do is that we create this room and we say that everybody's welcome, irregardless of how you think, irregardless of what your own personal beliefs are. But then as soon as somebody says something that's contradictory to what you think of, I don't vote, then it's like, get out.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that really shows who's sincere in what they promote their morals and ethics are to people who are just pretending that they're inclusive, because I've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah.
When I tell people that I don't vote, and it's met with contention because I don't believe what they believe in. And so, they try real hard to convince me that I'm wrong, even though deep in my heart, I believe
that this is right.
Yeah. And so that's kind of that's kind of a negative, I think, that comes with the political season, is that you really do get people, they really draw this line and say that, you're on you're basically kind of almost in a way like that, like you're my enemy
Yeah.
because you believe in this certain
In
way.
a different way. Yeah.
And I've already seen it on Facebook. I've already seen if you voted for Trump, you can unfriend me right now. If you have this certain perspective, I don't want anything to associate with you.
Yep.
And I guess to me, it's kind of disheartening because, like that, we mentioned that how we have this perspective that Democrats are heroes,
Yeah.
that they're the heroes of the story, and that the Republicans are villains.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it's like, well, what if you have individuals out there that are Republican and they have good hearts?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
good people.
Yeah.
Because I personally know an individual, a prominent Native American individual, and I won't name their names to protect them, but I know that they're a Republican. And has that changed my perspective on that person? No, because I've seen the good things that they can do that they've done for Indian country. I've worked with them to see how role model that person plays within our lifetime, but because they're a Republican, to
Yeah.
me that changes nothing as to what they're as to how I see them in my own light. So that's kind of one of the negative things I think that really does result of the political season is that we tend to chastise each other
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they don't believe in what we believe in.
So if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris start bringing wood to Soul's house, I would forever be in their debt. So, but as long as they're staying over there and doing what their thing is, I don't really care. So.
And it's really interesting though, and I think social media makes everything interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know if it still says it on there, but I remember back in the day the Facebook when you want to make a post that says "What are you thinking?"
Oh yeah,
and that literally is a window into people's perspective as to what they're thinking, and then so you have this vast information of people and what goes on in their minds or what their perspectives are, and one of the things that I also witnessed as a result of this 2020 election, I'm not gonna lie, it really kind of disheartened me, is that when CNN showed the demographics of the ethnicities that voted Democrat, they had this one line and it said something else.
Oh yeah, the something else. Hashtag something else.
Hashtag something else movement.
And that was very funny because, we were deemed something else, and Native Americans took to that in memes and in, what do they call it? The GIFs and the, all these little quiffs that come out on Facebook and stuff like that, and these quotes that are saying like, oh, I'm something else. I'm not Native American. I'm something else.
I think that goes to show that Indian country really is something else, because when everybody else was kind of laughing about it and yucking it up, in my own personal belief, at least my perspective, I kind of had an issue with it.
Really?
I didn't like it.
Really?
And I didn't like it because I think that the fact that we made it into a joke
Yeah.
just shows you how oppressed we are.
Yeah.
Because then you think about the kid that was constantly made fun of in school,
Yeah.
constantly teased,
Yeah.
that when you said something bad about them, that they kind of just took it and tried to laugh with everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard, you smell. You're a smelly kid. And then Richard will be kind of laughing. yeah, I kind of am a smelly kid, huh? And, that's what it made me think of.
Really?
That's what it made me think of. It made me think that we are so oppressed that we take this derogatory comment about who we are and we laugh with it.
So basically you're a little bitch right now. So, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about how you see it in that way of like, making fun of us or making fun of the whole situation. I see that, but I really don't care. I really had no, if it didn't affect Hopi in a way, it doesn't matter to me. If it didn't affect So or Qua in a way, then I really didn't care for it. So
I should ask you how you feel when the old people's finances are affected. What is it? The Medicare or the Social Security funds?
I think that's where So and Kwa kind of got a little disdained about that.
Yeah.
About like, Trump is going to do this to that. And then when they saw that Biden is going to do the same, they're like, so who do we vote for? And I'm like, I don't know. It's up to you. See, I'm telling you, white people are bad.
Jesus.
No, but, I believe that.
To reiterate Carl's phone number, it's 928. No.
No, but to reiterate what we all had said, it's because of the personal beliefs. It's because of what we both Hopis believe in. And we wake up every day believing in Hopi. We go to sleep Hopi and we wake up Hopi. And that's the only thing that matters towards us. Anything else is all secondary. Everything, every political part, every other religion, every other thought, that's all secondary. So whatever we did, it's because of our own beliefs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we thank you all for weathering the storm in this return back to season 3. I know that we got some exciting other topics coming up. And, this is kind of something that we did really want to talk about, especially with the landscape of what was going on in the larger context of, this place that we call the United States of America. Speaking of which, I don't know if you've looked at our anchor lately, but we are now listened to in 13 different countries.
Really? In 13 different countries. All right.
And by the way,
Thank you for that.
Zimbabwe is not one of them. I've asked Carl to step up his podcast game in season 3.
So
that has yet to be seen.
Thank you for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. If you would like to sponsor us, please email us at cjpodcast85@gmail.com.
And we still have shirts and stickers up at myshopify.strongones.com. And then we're also going to be pushing out some new merchandise this season.
Oh, yeah. So look out for that.
To get you geared up for the holiday season.
Yeah. So look out for that. Look out for that on our Facebook page, our Instagram page. So if you're not on Instagram or Facebook, get on there, like us, and we can show you the world.
And please follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter numbers are abysmal right now.
I don't even have a Twitter page.
Our Twitter numbers are abysmal, like Carl's dating history.
So thank you again for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. My name is Carl, and this is my best friend, J-Man.
So long. What?